Here we go. Here we have the kit that came from CVF. You'll notice all your tubes here. These little fittings we won't use. There's one here, there's one in another pipe over here. We'll just tighten those up. I'm assuming if you wanted to, like, I don't know, nitrous or something, I don't know. But here's where your blow-off valve mounts and your tube for that. So you'll notice all these hot and cold pipe tubes. So you have all your clamps. This two stacks and these are all the same. They're the 85s. This is 75. This is a little bit smaller, and this is the teeny tiny ones. So you'll notice here we have all of our little couplers. These are the ones that go in the intercooler. We'll have to take the springs off the factory ones, put on those. And here's the hardware that came with it. So you have the two little, I guess what I call nutserts. You have 9 button head bolts and 9 washers. So that's all I have in my kit. Now I have to go back and look, since they don't send instructions, which I'm not really fond of that. I think that should be a common practice amongst everybody. All right, so here we got the K&N air filter kit unboxed. You'll notice it has everything you need. All the I don't know what you call these, I guess, connectors. Your clamps, you got multiple clamps. You have 2, 4, 6, and 7 if you count this big one I've already got sitting on that. This piece which goes into here holds the filter in, as well as a special bracket. We'll see this later. Some zip ties with little Christmas tree things on them. An extender for one of your sensors. The hardware that's needed, as well as the tubes. Mine didn't come with the grommet. I bought one off Amazon that's the same size. I also missed a few pieces of hardware, but I got those taken care of as well. So just want to point that out to you guys. But here we go. We're going to get this all put on very shortly. Here's a nifty little sheet K&N sends with their air kit if you want to pause and review it. All right, so this is where it's going to get complicated for us. So we are doing both the K&N Cold Air intake as well as the cold pipe installation, cold side pipe installation from CVF at the same time. So what does that mean? We're not going to be able to follow instructions for either one word for word because we're going to kind of merge them together. So bear with us. We'll get this done. We'll try to show you how we do it as best we can. If there's gaps, we'll try to explain it the best we can. We're going to do a good job. We're going to get this done. We're going to have this thing. All right, first things first. First thing we have to do is take the front skid plate off. That way we can get up here these pipe ends on the intercooler here in just a moment. We'll see. We did this with the intercooler install as well, so it shouldn't be too hard for us to figure out. So where ours may be a little bit different from some of the rest of you guys, we are going to take this air box off first, even though that's not the order the instructions have that come with it. So now that we got this piece out, we're going to save that little piece because we'll have to use it when we put the new one in. We're going to get started on removing this factory air box and seeing if that sensor will work. All right, we'll get this little sensor out. We're going to put this little thing wedged in here so we can pop this off. First, we're going to pop some of these other Christmas trees loose. We got 4 bolts here, 8mm. What the? We just changed this literally like in the last couple months. Like in the last month. And look how dirty this thing already is. You live in the Phoenix area and you go wheeling in the desert, it's going to look like shit. So you're about to change these things quite a bit more often than you would say if you're living back in Chicago or Tennessee. Or a little bolt here that goes into the firewall you have to remove as well before you can take the box out. Here we're going to turn this little sensor here in the air box. We're going to turn it and then we're going to pull it out and I'll show it to you real quick. Just be careful, make sure you don't damage it, and you'll want to make sure the O-ring is still on it, which ours was. So we just had to plug it back into the new hole. And we confirmed it does fit in the hole for the grommet, so we're good to go. We're going to set it aside for now though until we're ready to put it in. So we were able to move the clamp, but we weren't able to get the hose off, so we just ended up waiting until we got the whole piece off. I just disconnected it there at that little knob at the bottom. But yeah, some of these can be pretty stubborn. Also, you'll want to go ahead and unhook all your Christmas tree little thingamajigs, where it takes the cooling wire, coolant line, and your any other electronics or lines that are attached to the air hoses. So you want to go ahead and do that now before you start moving anything. Alright, something I may have forgot to show you guys. So you just take a 7mm, loosen this, and you pull the center piece out. That was the piece that also had your stuff in it. Alright, so we took our 8mm, removed this bolt, or took it off. We're going to go over here and we're going to hit this 8mm as well. And we should be moving on. Alright, so after loosening up the tube in the bottom, pinch these open right here, here, and here. You pull these little hoses out, pull this thing down. Not easy. Be careful. Pull this down, unplug from the throttle body. You're going to loosen these things up too. So we pulled this loose. We're going to pull that down there loose and then hook it from the turbo over there. And then we should be able to move this one big piece out. So that should be a big obstacle out of our way. All right, you will have to go through the driver's side fender well to get to this little doozy here. This is required so you can move this off the turbo. So you'll have to do it. But yeah, you just have to get a little, I think it's an 8mm. It could be a 7mm though. You just have to get it in there and get to where you can get it on that little screw right there so you can loosen up that clamp. And then you should just be able to pull it right off the turbo with a big main piece. So anyway, I just want to share this with you guys so you know you have to do it. Also here you have to unscrew the clamps on the pipe that goes down to the passenger side, top of the turbo as well. That way you can get this one main piece off, which you'll see here in just a minute. Isn't she pretty? In case anybody wants to know what your turbo looks like. All that shit covered it up. Alright, this is the one that you'll see on most of the videos. You can actually see it if you can get your phone in there. I can see a very heavy bolt right there. That's it right there. So you have to get that unbuttoned. You're kind of going a little bit blindly. So we're going to use a 10mm socket with extension. Well, luckily I can start doing it by hand now. Alright, there it is. You may notice this clamp removal tool earlier. We use it for a lot of this stuff. This is handy to have. I'll put a link on Amazon for it below. Thanks to Bareback Broncos for sharing the information. Over here is the tube that we just either pull it up, or if it won't come up, maybe we can snake it down there too. Alright, so those two tubes that go in the intercooler are laying on the ground. Bolt, you gotta undo that bolt. It goes all the way up. This is the one that goes all the way up to the throttle body. So, there's a little bolt down there. Gotta get to it. Alright, so this is probably one of the more pain in the ass moments. You have to put a 10mm wrench underneath that bolt where that bolt is, because there's a nut there. Because you have to hold it while you undo the bolt. Now there's a way of when you put it back on to avoiding this, having to do it again. We'll show you that in a little bit. Something else we'd do is unplug this. You just want to slide this piece back, pop it out. Also a little Christmas tree there you have to pop off. This is the tube that's going into the throttle body. We disconnected that earlier. It's up here. So that'll go on back on here later on. So now we're going to loosen up these and we're going to pull this off.
Something to note here, you will have to take the throttle body sensor off with a Torx bit, but you put it back on with some of the hardware they give you.
There we go. Well, some of you guys may be wondering, well, what's exactly the difference? Well, it's a pretty decent difference. I don't know if the camera picks this up as well. These things are definitely bigger, definitely more volume. I mean, it doesn't take a rocket science to figure this out. So you can see the difference in size. So should be a really good addition for us. And even up here, you can see there's a difference in size in those pipes. You know, the factory one is definitely more constrained. So this should open up the flow pretty good. All right, so y'all remember that spot down here that was a bitch to get to? One of the other videos I watched said to use one of these, put it back on there. It'll make it a hell of a lot easier to get on and off in the future if need be. So we're going to try that. And it says the factory bolt will go right back into this. All right, everybody, here we are. This is almost what it would look like if this was not a turbo engine with no all the extra piping. Frees up a lot of space in there, doesn't it? Well, I mean, you can really tell a huge difference in the stock pieces versus the non-stock pieces. Well, like for example, you know, they're just bigger, definitely more efficient. So when you look at them up close, you can see that the new ones are definitely bigger. Now we've got all these clamps up here. Now these elbows are huge. So like down here, these look like they're pretty huge. Those elbows that are going on are huge, and it doesn't have this like weird turn like in this one does. And you guys can see it as well. Then we go over here. This is our K&N. We're doing it at the same time. You can see obviously there's definitely a lot better gap here as well. So you're going to have a lot better airflow. I'll be surprised if there's not a kick in the seat. Down the road, Full Race Motorsports here in Phoenix, they told us they were working on some turbo upgrades for the Bronco. They've already got them out for the F-150s and the Raptors with a significant increase in horsepower. I mean, not that we're going to be drag racing this thing anytime soon, but it might be something we consider. Rinse with extension. Now, when you put that hose down there, you want to do a trial run because you want to make sure that you have access to tighten that up from down here because you're not going to be able to reach it from up top. The upper one, which I don't know if you can even see it, we just want to make sure we put it to where it wouldn't get snug on anything when we slid it down, but we tightened it up before we pushed it down just because, you know, it's one of those things that'd be very hard to try to get tightened up. Probably not impossible. It'd be very hard. So anyway, this is how we set it up. Got our lights in here so we could see.
We did have to go back and loosen up a little bit for positioning, but we just tightened it right back up the same way we're doing right here.
Hey, all right. Well, it's day 2. We ran out of daylight. I got a little hurry, so needless to say, a few lessons learned. Lesson number 1 is don't tighten everything up all the way, even though you don't want to have to try to get back in there. Which I didn't do that for the most part, but there was a couple of areas I did do that. So lesson learned there. Another big lesson learned is don't wait to the intercoolers last. The videos I watched, they didn't do that. They didn't really show them connect the inner tube, so I didn't think about it. I just assumed I'd just do that last, you know, then start going from bottom up. So I'd recommend doing that. Also, too, if you have another person, it's probably better to do that. Have them there, have a second set of hands. Unfortunately, I don't. I'm live here by myself, and most of my friends are doing other things on Labor Day. On the passenger side, I was able to get the boot and snake it down. Now that's without any clamps on it, and that's without this thing on it. Because only being one person, if I had 2 people, I could possibly do like the other video, to where somebody's feeding it down while the other person's holding on to the bottom, so they can try to get the boot on. So we're going to try it this way. Driver's side wasn't too bad. We went from the bottom up with the boot already attached, and it just straightened it up and tightened everything up. We've got that piece on, but we still have to connect those pieces. And we got this piece over here on. We'll have to connect this with this once that gets in place. All right, so this is how it looks in here. Oh, I can get you a good look there. Notice up here, we got to connect those two pipes together. Bolt that up there down. And over here, looking at this upside down, but this is the pipe passenger side. So how we did it is that we did the boot only on the pipe that goes down. We didn't tighten it up. We snaked it down without the boot and without this coupler here. Once we got it down, we secured that up there. We tightened it down pretty good. We may have to loosen it up once we get back up top just to kind of get to where we can maneuver stuff around. We went ahead and put the coupler on, put the factory clip on, and then put the other clamp on down here. So it's on there good on both sides. So that was the biggest pain I had last night. I could not get those damn things on because I waited till late to do them at the end. So lesson learned. Now once we get all this back on, we'll need to come back and check to make sure that alternator pulley is not hitting that pipe. But as the pipe shift, it could edge closer. So we'll just have to pay attention to that. Maybe have to come in and loosen it up, finagle it a little bit, maybe try to get it to work. All right, as we mentioned before, we took one of these, because took multiple. So we put it on the back side of that. Got the 8 Miller bolt screwed in. We did that by pushing this down there. And it is on pretty tight. So that thing's not going anywhere. So now, we just got to tighten these clamps up down here. This pipe is the one that goes up to the throttle body. That's the one that goes down to the passenger side intercooler. So this goes up to the throttle body. We're going to tighten all this stuff back up. All right, so we got the cold intake charge in. It's underneath that. Got that plug back in. All the way over here. Got it secured down. We haven't started that down yet. We'll do that once we get everything on. All right, so you'll see the piping here that's installed. You notice down here we also have the connection to the actual turbo itself from the cold air intake as well as the exit. So now it's just a matter of snaking this pipe that goes over here and it connects to this and connects to that turbo over there. Sometimes you gotta get creative. So I very carefully, I didn't want to put too much pressure to get that bolt to line up. We got that bolt over there to line up, then we got to put our bracket over here. We still got to tighten those down. And then we got to hook everything up over here and then put the blocks back. All right, so we got the hoses on. Where my hose at? That's connected. Got the adapter on record for this. Now we will have a solution for these hoses once we get the box in. But other than that, it looks like we're all wrapped up, ready to go. So we're gonna crawl under, make sure everything's good and tight. And put this thing back on the throttle body. Make sure it's locked in. Which it is. All right, everything's connected back up. We got our bracket back on here, and that is done. Now this bolt is just straight screws in. It's a bolt, lock washer, and washer. This one, on the other hand, is a bolt, lock washer, and washer, but on the other side there's a nut. So you need a 10 millimeter wrench to go underneath it, while you do a 10 millimeter socket on top to hold it so you can screw it down. All right, after a lot of sweating, swearing, and repeating stuff, we're almost done. Everything on. You know, since we have a body lift, this thing was a little bit more of a struggle than it'd probably be for the rest of you guys, just because it's set off a little bit. But, you know, just loosen your stuff, make adjustments, and you can get it on. This thing plugs into this hole right here. I do have some zip ties, so there's another hole down here. And I want to clean up these two wires, get them together, some zip ties, and put them down there so they're not in the way. We do have an aftermarket blow-off valve on the way from Moomba Racing, also an intake valve, so that'll be an interesting job. But all we gotta do now is just throw the little top thing on, and then we're good to go. Unfortunately, I don't have access to a dyno. All I can give you is seat of my pants filled. So we're driving over here to get some lunch after the install. Oh yeah, this definitely kicks it back.
going to sit here and say it's like 100 extra horsepower or some ridiculous statement like that, but you can definitely tell it, excuse my language, it definitely has better throttle response for sure. It's definitely louder. You can hear that turbo even more now than you did before, even though I don't have a blow-off valve. I don't have the hose disconnected anymore. This thing gets up and goes. So it'll kind of like push you back in your seat a little bit. I consider it definitely, I can feel the difference. Now keep in mind I had the Ford Performance tuner on mine, but I am also running just regular unleaded gasoline. I'm not running premium, so, but I can definitely tell a difference from before. With the charge pipe, cold air intake, and the new intercooler, this thing feels like a new vehicle. Yeah, it definitely feels a little bit better. So I'm glad I got it. So anyway, hope you guys consider hitting that like and subscribe button. We'd love to have you around for the rest of the stuff that we're going to be doing here soon. We got a trip to the Rubicon coming up. We got some more mods coming in. You know, and I hope you guys see you around. I hope you enjoy it with us. Peace.
Interested in getting one of these CVF hot side and cold side air pipe kit? We put a affiliate link down below with a discount code. Also, we'll put a link for Amazon for the K&N kit. So definitely worth your efforts.